And joining me now is William D. Hartung. He's at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Bill, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
So this parade that Donald Trump is very excited about, ostensibly to honor the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, but it also happens to be Donald Trump's 79th birthday. What are your thoughts on this parade?
Well, there's the ego aspect, what kind of look you want to have in a democracy. But to me, one of the biggest things is the hypocrisy. Allegedly, he's honoring active duty military and our veterans, and they're cutting benefits. They're cutting personnel at the VA. They're cutting research that could solve things like PTSD. They're closing veterans' health clinics. You got people in the military who need food stamps to, keep things together. How can you do both? You have a one-day spectacle, and you're actually undermining the people that are charged with defending the country.
And spending $45 million at least, because between the damage to the roads in D.C., the cost of, unmothballing old tanks that apparently are being, wheeled in from all around the country over trucks because some of them don't run. You go on and on and on. Just putting this together is costing a lot of money at a time when DOJ is slashing budgets. And to your point, some of those budgets are inside the VA.
Yeah, and it's symbolic. I mean, they're willing to waste money on a military spectacle, but they're destroying our ability to give foreign economic assistance. They're going to cut Medicaid and food aid, which is actually going to also hurt vets, but everybody. And so it's sort of like the things that sustain us as human beings are dispensable, and the spectacle is not,
I also wonder just about the imagery for the United States. There's lots of reporting that when Donald Trump attended the Bastille Day or the celebrations inside of Paris that they do to honor the end of World War II, they have a big military parade. Donald Trump came back to Washington and said, "Hey, I want a military parade like the one Macron had." He was essentially envious of what they had. So it's partly that he wants to match that kind of foreign spectacle of a military parade. But he's also threatened force. He said that there would be maximum force used against any protesters who attempt to protest at this, to protest this military parade, which to me is giving, Kim Jong-un or giving maybe Tiananmen Square in China. Do you worry that with the president making those kinds of threats, it's going to feel more like a Tiananmen Square than like a French Bastille Day parade?
Well, he's treating the military as an arm of his personal political objectives and his ego. So that's a problem. And even worse, he's overriding the governor of LA, the mayor of LA, the governor of California to send the National Guard. He's sending the Marines there. Then he's threatening legitimate protesters at this, little spectacle. So that is not the work of a Democratic president. He wanted a parade in his first term, and the military leaders said, we're not going to do that. But part of Project 2025 was put in loyalists. And so you got Pete Hegseth, who was certainly not going to stand up to Donald Trump on this. So he's got free reign, and we don't know how far he's going to go. I mean, even if they do it once, the idea is to put a chill in people about even exercising their constitutional rights to protest.
And what message does it send if you were at the same time using the military over the objections, as you said, of the governor of California, using them essentially on California residents, and at the same time throwing yourself a big military parade, just showing off our military might?
Well, if the idea was to honor the military, they're doing quite the opposite. They had one in 91 to celebrate, the victory in the Gulf War, which turned out not being a victory. It was the opening of a, decades-long conflict. But nonetheless, there was a specific thing they were celebrating. What are they celebrating this time? I mean, they're going to celebrate illegal use of the military. It doesn't make sense,
Donald Trump has claimed that one of the reasons he wants this parade is that the U.S. never did a big public celebration of our victory in World War II, and that there was never such a parade for that. Do you buy that argument?
Not really. I mean, the country celebrated. And to me, what kind of parade you have is kind of secondary. But also, the thing about World War II is it is the model for every war that this country has gone in since. Every adversary is Hitler. Everything is World War II. Even if it's an ill-conceived war that's going to just cost us blood and treasure, that's the kind of the framework that is used. So to me, that harkening back to World War II is kind of akin to put America first, make America great again. Some of that America first stuff goes back to the isolationists in World War II who didn't want to fight Hitler. So, does he think through these things? Does he not? Certainly when they're pointed out to him, it doesn't change him. So, fine. World War II, I believe, they were fighting fascism. It had to be done, but it doesn't translate into some of the other conflicts that have been justified on the same basis since then.
And I mean, the irony, you mentioned that Donald Trump's former generals, during his first term as president, said no to his idea of having a military parade. Among them, reportedly, were General Mark Milley, who was the Joint Chiefs Chair, who then later called Donald Trump a fascist to his core, as well as General Kelly, who was Donald Trump's chief of staff, who also told reporters that Donald Trump is a fascist. If generals think that the president of the United States is a fascist and he's using the military in the aggressive ways that he's doing in California, and then also throwing himself what really does look like sort of a Putin-like, Kim Jong-un-like parade, what message does that send about us to the rest of the world?
Well, I think whatever label one chooses, autocrat, et cetera, the question is how do we rein this power grab in? But certainly the rest of the world is going to not take us serious when we say we're the bastion of democracy. They're not going to look at us as supporting a rules-based international order, which of course also was completely devastated by enabling the slaughter in Gaza. So the United States, Ronald Reagan's shining city on the hill, a force for human rights, all of that is put into question. I mean, there were certainly questions already, but this is kind of like driving a nail into that aspect of the U.S. image, which is going to make the country weaker. I mean, I think that's the amazing thing. They seem to think bullying people and threatening to beat them in an arms race is going to make you safer. No, it's going to promote an arms race. And also, going back to Eisenhower, who was a very different kind of Republican, he gave a speech where he said, basically the security of a country isn't about piling up weapons. It's a healthy, well-educated, well-motivated, united population. And the policies we're seeing now are completely pushing in the opposite direction. So the tough guy rhetoric is resulting in a weaker country.
Last question. We've now seen that Israel has attacked Iran. The United States the State Department under Marco Rubio put out a formal statement, saying that the U.S. had no knowledge of that attack and no involvement in it, or at least no involvement in it. Do you believe that? Do you think it would be possible for Israel to have struck Iran without giving the United States advance notice? And what do you think the implications could be of a war between Iran and Israel for us?
Well, I mean, if they didn't notify the U.S., that's almost worse. They're allegedly an ally and so forth, and they're going to do something that dangerous without talking to the U.S. But unfortunately, the pattern has been Netanyahu does something aggressive. U.S. may or may not have wanted to do it. Then they say, well, we're behind you 100%. So actually, Netanyahu is calling the tune to some degree about our foreign policy. And now we're at the risk of a regional war. Somebody has to say this has to end. I don't know that President Trump would do that. But what he should be saying is you're not going to see another dime of U.S. money, another weapon, another spare part until you stop this madness. And I don't see that happening. So, and of course, you can't eliminate Iran's nuclear program with bombs. Some of it's underground. You're just going to incentivize them to try to get bombed more quickly. And of course, they have ways to strike back, be it missiles, be it their allies in the region. And if they do that, Israel will try to ratchet it up. So this is no time to be, saying platitudes about how you feel about Israel in general. This is a very specific government that's doing very dangerous things. And we can't just go along for the ride. I mean, it's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I think most of the American people would agree. Bill Hartung, thank you very much.
Thank you.
day.